All right, guys. So with college football, I mean, it started last week, but like, let's be honest, it really starts on Saturday. I mean, we got some games tomorrow and Friday, but I just realized Lee Corso's 90. That's insane, bro. Anyway, those guys, we'll be putting some college football into this one, but in this one, we'll be ranking every single NFL division, which means again, if you're a fan in one of these divisions that isn't very good, well, I mean, if your team's decent, pretty happy about this. And with that, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy the 2025 edition of ranking every NFL division. And this time, we're going to do a special thing. We're going to go over to college and rank all the college football conferences as they stand right now. Again, I understand realignment and all that has shaken things up, but again, each division, they'll be power ranked 1 through 8. Again, I don't think there's too much controversy, at least at the bottom, with how this will work. And then, obviously, the college football conferences we'll get to after. But again, if you're a fan of Tier Week, which again is now, we're pretty close to the end now. Stick around because we got 2 big ones coming in the next couple of days, and then again the season's starting in actually a week from tomorrow, so that is insane when you think about it. But predictions and all that coming up very soon, as well as power ranks, which should be out by probably Monday if I had to guess. With that said, though, thanks to USTC Cleveland, I'm just gonna say in 18. Go follow him on Twitter, and then you look at the person who made this one. Follow Arlen Longhorns. There we go. I guess he's hook 'em horns, I guess. But yeah, go follow those dudes. Thanks for them making these tier lists. Saved me a bunch of time. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, the worst division in the NFL at this moment, I'm going to have to go with the AFC South. This is a division that has at least 2 teams that could completely be just absolutely horrible this year. Obviously, for different reasons, that being the Titans and Colts. Again, we'll get more of them in the power rankings, but again, both those teams are probably not going to win this division. The Texans, they didn't get better this offseason overall. Again, I do like where they're coming, though, because of how strong they were on defense towards the end of last year. Again, there's a lot of hype on that defense. I don't know how good they'll actually be. We'll see week 1. Again, we'll be doing that preview next Saturday. But yes, really predictions. But yeah, Texans, obviously, they're the favorite to win the division. They got the Jaguars, who are kind of a wild card, just like Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball. But yeah, Liam Cohen, I'm not confident in his ability to be a head coach. A lot of people are, though, so we'll see what happens. But again, they're not the most talented roster either. So again, there's a lot of questions in that division. That's probably why they're last, as well as the fact that there are a lot of teams that I expect to beat them in the playoffs. Again, we look at the Texans, I say a lot. They won playoff games in back-to-back seasons. There really aren't that many teams that have done that in the NFL right now. But again, at the same time, that part of the reason they were able to do that is because they're in a pretty bad division. All right, the second worst division in the NFL, I'm going to go with the NFC South, my bad. They got arguably the worst team in the NFL in the Saints. A Panthers team that has won a combined 7 games the past 2 seasons. A Falcons team that I think you'll see in the predictions. And then you got the Bucs, who are obviously the best team in that division. So, again, also the fact they won it 4 straight years kind of shoots to like the uncompetitive nature of this division, despite even a couple years ago it was a little bit of a race towards the finish there. But if you're a Bucs fan, you should be pretty happy, pretty confident unless, things go haywire. But yes, this is a division that, again, is definitely a little bit less competitive than you can even argue the AFC South. But again, the teams, I think, overall, like the Falcons, I'd probably say are a better team than the Jaguars right now overall in terms of talent. And overall, yeah, despite them having, again, like a stinker like the Saints, they're still a division that, like, again, they're better than the AFC South. But is it that much better? You can definitely debate it. All right, in 6th, though, this is tough. No, where are we going to go with this one? I'm with the AFC East. The Bills are, again, they're the big favorite. And then the other 3 teams in the division, I don't think they're, again, exactly on an equal playing field, but they're definitely not that far off. The Jets, again, with the worst quarterback situation. The Patriots probably with the worst overall roster. And then the Dolphins with many questions in their secondary and also their identity overall, which is a big issue. But when you look at the Jets, I think they will be at least one of these teams in this division. They're not going to go 0-6. But the Bills, again, they're going to run away with this division. Probably the least competitive division in football overall as well. Not like, again, for every team, but like for the team that's going to win it sort of thing. And also, again, this is like none of these 3 teams are going to really be pushing to be that top wildcard spot if I had to guess. Again, we'll see how it plays out my predictions. But yeah, if you're a fan of the AFC East, like your division isn't one of the strongest just because of the fact that the Bills have been so dominant the past couple of years. And again, this has always been a division that's been notorious, at least in the 21st century. What's the 20th? That would have been a little bit weird there. But 21st century, where it's been one team that's just completely dominated, outside of that one year when the Patriots were out without Tom Brady. But again, the Bills won it now, was it 5 straight or something ridiculous like that? Again, there's really nothing else that's going to really change up there. All right, what's the 5th division? I'm going to go with the AFC West. I think they're definitely a division that's strong overall because they again have the Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers. But what I think is a little bit different for them is I don't know if they have legit teams in terms of ceiling. Again, I think we'll get to the next division too, but I think you could definitely interchange these two. So again, don't it's more like a 4A, 4B sort of thing. It's not like again true 5 and 4. But the really thing that sticks me with this division is the fact that again the Chiefs they're out. We know what the Chiefs are, but the Broncos haven't proven themselves in the playoffs. The Chargers played absolutely horrible in the playoffs, and then you got the Raiders who are coming off a bad year and again really aren't looking awesome. They're not terrible, obviously, but they could definitely be better. So this is a division that just has a good amount of questions despite overall being a strong group. And again, overall the quarterback position probably you could argue is one of the better top 2 or 3 in the NFL at this moment. All right, fourth I'm gonna say is the Rams division, the NFC West. Again, don't even say it's biased. I think what separates the Rams and not the Rams division, the NFC West from the AFC West, the fact that you could argue they have teams that again you could probably make an argument to going deeper in the playoffs, like the Niners again. Again, I understand that their schedule is part of the reason people think they'll have a pretty good record, but it's more the fact that, again, we know the Niners can get to the NFC Championship. They did it, what was it, 3 straight years. And I'm not saying that they're that team anymore, but they've done that in very recent memory. Rams, they were the only team that was even remotely competitive with the Eagles last year in the playoffs. The Seahawks and Cardinals, again, they have their woes. Like, I understand that, but they're not also putrid. Like, the Cardinals were much better than the Raiders last year. And, again, they were the worst team in the division, technically. Again, you could say the Niners, but, we all know the Niners are a better team than the Cardinals, at least at the moment. So, that's what I kind of mean there. But, yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit more of a floor for this division. And I think there's definitely teams that are a little bit more proven. That's really the only difference, though, because you could argue that there's definitely a little bit more talent in the AFC West is what I'd say there. But again, in terms of what we could say guarantee, how many teams you could see making the playoffs, it's probably leaning more towards the NFC West. With that said, though, we go into I think the third division. I'm gonna go with the NFC East. The biggest issue is though, again, I get the Redskins here. That's awesome. But yes, this is the division that has the reigning Super Bowl champs. That's automatically gonna put them higher, unless again all the other teams stink. The Cowboys are really, again, a circus at the end of the day, but they're a talented roster. And then the Commanders, who also just won the NFC Championship. The fact that, again, you had this division end up like that is really, again, kind of how it works out. Again, the fact that the Giants are kind of dragging it down a little bit is also a good thing. But in the fact that this division hasn't had what was the last time? I think it was last time NFC East had a repeat winner. It was what? Yeah, 2004. It's been that long, kind of just tells you how competitive it is. And also, again, I understand there were years like 2020 where this division was an absolute laughingstock. But specifically right now, you got 3 teams that, again, just for the Giants' sake, I don't really see how they're going to finish higher than maybe third. But, yeah, they got, again, they literally had the 2 teams in the NFC Championship. That's really hard to beat there. And also, it's a pretty talented division overall. You can see a lot of big names. And those fact, none of those teams are really that thin overall. I mean, you could argue the Eagles don't have the greatest depth, but again, you got a loaded Eagles team. You got a pretty talented Commanders team, despite them being basically a funeral home. The Cowboys, again, they're a talented team. We all know that. And then the Giants, they're there. So this is just a division that has a lot of success in it, as well as just being stronger than these two. That's really what I got to say there. All right, second best division in football. I'm going to say, this is tough. I think I got to say this is the AFC North. The reason it's not first is because the Browns are a complete huge mystery. I mean, you can say that against the Vikings. We'll get to that in a minute. But just the fact, the Ravens are probably the Super Bowl favorites right now if I had to guess. Well, we'll see about that in the predictions. But that's probably a pretty strong take there. The Steelers, yeah. They're gonna be competitive, which again, that's the thing there. At any of these NFL teams, you know that the Steelers are gonna be competitive. The Bengals, again, the narrative we all know about that, but that's probably the best offense in football. Browns, what the heck's going on? That's really the only thing that's holding this division back, because you got 3 teams that, again, Ravens are going to compete for number one seed. Bengals, who knows what'll happen with them, and then the Steelers, they'll be vying for a wild card spot. So the fact they got 3 teams like that guarantees. I mean, again, you're pretty similar with the what is called NFC East. I just think that the AFC East, AFC North, my bad, is a little bit more. There's definitely a little bit more potential there. All right, and then the best division in football, I think, right now is the NFC North, just because none of these teams are, again, at least going into the season that you could really project to be bad. The Bears, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but, they have some talent. The Lions, again, are probably one of the more well-rounded rosters in football. The Packers, we all know that the Packers are a team that won't suck. They haven't sucked in who knows how long. And the Vikings, again, they're kind of an unknown with J.J. McCarthy, but their roster is absolutely loaded. I'd probably say a top 3 or 4 roster. Now that I look at it now, probably not. Again, the roster grades don't prove that. When we get to the power rankings, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But they're a very, very good roster. They just traded for Adam Thielen and all that. I understand Jordan Addison was a little bit of a naughty boy in the offseason, so that was part of it. But yes, for the Vikings, this is where they stick. With that said, though, that's all I have for NFL division. So again, if you don't want to watch college ones, I mean, I guess so. Let's get to that, though. All right, looking at college football, I'm not, just preface this, I am not a huge expert on college football. I watch a lot of these guys, the prospects play, because I mean, you got to watch them play if you want to be a draft analyst. But yes, other than that, again, I'm pretty decently well versed in this, but I'm not. Again, the NFL is where it is, so that's what I'll say there. But these conferences, there's again, if you haven't watched college football in a minute, I do think this is a good year to watch, probably because you got again the big noon game on Saturday. That's going to be a massive one. But with that said, we will start with the ACC. I guess we'll start with this. The ACC in college football right now is, I'm going to put it in B tier. Because this is a conference that they're going to obviously send one team. They're a Power 4 conference. They're going to send at least one team to the playoff. It's going to happen. Again, you saw freaking Clemson with 3 losses got in last year. But that conference is just kind of a joke in a lot of ways for me. Again, they have Clemson. We all know that. They're a very talented team. But outside of that, again, I understand Miami's getting a lot of hype. I don't really think they're that great. As of right now, they have like at least 4 or 5 teams that I'm like, a lot of group of 5 teams could definitely knock them off, and I wouldn't think it would be the biggest thing in the world. And as a power conference, you just don't want that to be the case, but that is the case for the ACC. Also, the fact that they don't really have any proven team outside of, I'd probably say Clemson is a little bit of an issue for me too. Again, SMU, like, guys, like, what the hell? Should not have been in the playoff last year. But they got in, so I guess that's good. But, yeah, ACC for me just really isn't doing it. They're better than their basketball conference was last year. That's fair to say, though. And even though they're supposed to be, that's got to be, they got to be the S tier. Whatever, though. American's going to go in. This is tough. I'd probably say D tier. Guys, the American has a bunch of really bad teams, like Temple, Tulsa. They were horrible last year. Tulane was supposed to be the best group 5 team. I honestly think they were probably the most talented, but they didn't do much. Let us, they got their North Texas. They just got a lot of irrelevant teams. But the thing is, they at least, again, like I said, they have the potential to send a team to the playoffs, despite still not being the greatest conference. Again, there's still a team here and there that, again, can put up a pretty good fight. But overall, that's not a conference that I'm really looking at to give you good college football. But still, again, I don't know, like Navy, Army. They got, like, there's definitely something there, but, like, overall, it's just not really a conference that I really see any sort of, like, that team's a dog sort of thing. But obviously, it's not. It's a group of 5, so what do you expect? Big Ten. Big Ten's going in S tier. I mean, there's really another, again, it's got to go to S tier. Again, we obviously know it's one of the big 2 conferences there. But the reason he goes there, not only because they have the national championship, but it's overall a pretty deep conference. I understand, like, in the bottom of it's a little bit of a mess. Again, like, Northwestern, Purdue aren't really looking too hot going into this season. Even Rutgers, you could argue. But, like, again, I still think there's teams, obviously Penn State, Oregon, all those big schools aren't really carry it. And, again, the fact that it's so massive, I think it's just kind of just taking things over like that. But again, in terms of like the actual competition and the quality of teams, probably not the best. We all know what that is. But yes, the Big Ten coming into this year should be a pretty great conference, and they should have sent like 2 or at least 3 teams to the playoffs or to the playoff. But for the Big Ten last year, probably their best year in a while now. But again, until a little bro beats Michigan, like I really can't take that conference 2-2 again. Like I can't put it in a number 1 sort of thing. Big 12. The Big 12, I'm going to put an H here. Some people are like, why would you do that? Overall, guys, the Big 12 is probably the 3rd most talented conference in college football. You could even argue in some ways it's the 2nd, but I don't really want to go there with the Big 10. This is a conference, I understand that it really isn't a proven, like, consistent winner, considering Texas and Oklahoma left, like, what was it, 2 years ago now? But they still have teams like, not Oklahoma State, because they were terrible last year. What's a good one? Texas Tech, again, I understand they weren't great last year. But Iowa State, obviously, and then again, you had Arizona State who won the conference. So, there's a lot of variability, but they have a lot of talented teams. This is a conference that I could definitely see sending maybe 3 teams if they get lucky. But overall, this is obviously, it's more of like a 1-2 bid league, I understand that. But this is definitely a conference that, again, I think there's just a lot of talent in it. Again, they send a lot of good players to the NFL, too. So, even though they might not be the most competitive in terms of, again, we look at the other 2, they're definitely a really good conference that has a lot of talent. Conference USA, I'm going to put in C tier. No, this is tough. Do I put them in C? I'm going to put them in D tier. No, this is, do I do it? This is tough. D tier. Conference USA just doesn't have many. Doesn't have many very good teams. Again, I'm looking at SP Plus, which is ESPN's metric to measure college football team success rates. And again, overall other teams, they have a lot of teams towards the bottom. I understand that, but again, we look at it. Well, they have like Liberty. That's their best team right now. Again, like you look at those schedules, they're just not very competitive. And there's a lot of teams that they're literally just beating blocks like the Big Ten and SEC. But again, it's still a pretty competitive conference. I think there's some teams that you gotta like a lot. They do send a decent amount of players to the NFL. But it's just, again, you look, it's just not a conference that you're like, yeah, that's a good conference, like sort of thing. But yeah, it's not the worst. The MAC is the worst. The MAC, again, it's kind of like, I won't call it irrelevant, but it just kind of is. Look at the fact like Miami, Ohio won it last year. And the fact this division just really, this conference really doesn't have any teams that's going to really be competitive on like a wide scale. Again, they had some successes last year, I understand that. Like looking at Northern Illinois, if we can get to them. Football. Yeah, looking like Northern Illinois. Yeah, like they had that huge success against Notre Dame last year and stuff. But overall, guys, this is a MAC conference that just, again, like, it's MACtion. Like, what else to say? They play on Tuesday night. It's definitely a conference that's, like, we know what's going on there, but, like, there's not many good teams there. And also, again, you look at the talent overall, it's just, again, it just doesn't match to a lot of these other conferences. Mountain West is going in C tier. They're, again, not the greatest conference, but, again, they still are going to give you good football. The fact they still have solid talent overall. Again, you look at like Boise State last year; they were like the 4 seed in the country. Now they weren't that high, but they were pretty close. And again, just overall, Mountain West is again, it's a solid conference. Again, I got to say that. But again, we look at it overall; they don't have maybe they have 2 teams a year. You're like that; those are good teams, like really good teams. But again, overall, pretty well rounded. I understand the bottom bit's kind of a mess, but it's definitely a little bit more higher level football than the American Conference USA. Pac-12. So it's a Pac-2 right now. They're supposed to get some other teams. I think, what is it like? I don't even know. Northern Illinois, maybe something like that. But the Pac-12, at the moment, Washington State's coming off a great year. I understand they lost all their guys, and they're going to be pretty bad this year. Oregon State's still somewhat respectable. I'm putting them in C tier, and I understand they only have 2 teams, and they're not really a conference. Both those teams can still play with a Power 4 team pretty well. Again, I took like the Big Ten, SEC. They could probably still give them a good game. But like overall, those 2 teams, again, aren't the greatest. But again, with the success that Washington State had last year, I understand that they lost all their guys. But that kind of just shows you, again, it's going to be more teams, and it's probably, again, very similar to the Mountain West, even though they're taking the Mountain West teams. But the Pac-2 at the moment, again, they're going to give you good football from those 2, again, Oregon State and Washington State. So that's what I have there. SEC, obviously, S tier, they have, 10 ranked teams, something ridiculous like that. Do I think there's that many good teams in the SEC? Not really, but again, we look at the top of that. Again, the SEC rules college football. We all know that. What they do, it goes. I mean, again, they're going to beat themselves up. They're going to have, less teams in the playoff because of that. But again, that's kind of what you get the SEC. It's complete dogfight. Like, Florida's schedule is just absolutely ridiculous. It's just insane what they're doing, and they're going to bring 9 conference games next year. It's just absolutely insane what they're doing. Not in a good way, though. But yeah, this is obviously the best conference in football at the moment. Sun Belt, C tier. You could argue it's D tier, but I think overall the fact that this is more of a physical conference from what I've seen the past couple years, and also they just bring... There's just games where, yeah, that would not be a fun team to play if you were in, the ACC or the Big 12. This is a conference that can give you good football. I understand they're really not, as good as the Mountain West in terms of talent overall. But they give you more competitive football than the American USA do overall, and they're obviously better than the MAC, too. So I think Sun Belt deserves C tier. Obviously, they're down here because they have some pretty bad teams. But overall, their conference I like a lot. And I think this is that conference going in the right direction. With that said, though, that's all I have for the NFL divisions and college football conference rankings, tiers, whatever you want to call them. If you have any concerns, any gripes about your college football conference being in a tier, put it in the comment section below. And yeah, that's what we got here. So yeah, see you from defense tomorrow.
That was a loss of a yard where they spotted it. Now looking for the big one down the sideline. What a catch! All the way at the 15 by Stephen Gosnell.
And they also say his ability to take the top off the defense has become part of his game. Always been a great route runner, but what a catch! Selling it out. Had 2, maybe 3 steps on the Marshall DB. Stephen Gosnell coming up. You get those opportunities. There haven't been that many in this